you ever wish your day wasn't dictated by your health? Are you tired of being tired all the time, or is pain holding you back from enjoying your time with your family? Would you like to manage your symptoms holistically, but you just don't know where to begin? I am so excited that you're here. This podcast will help you understand how natural remedies work so you can relieve your symptoms and live a fuller life. My name is Penny. I'm an occupational therapist, past pharmaceutical rep, a mom, and a wife with a strong faith, and for 25 years, I battled through debilitating Crohn's disease. I took all the medicine and did all the surgeries that stole so much time with my family, but never truly healed me. I finally realized if I was going to survive this disease, I needed to open my stubborn eyes to alternative solutions. I researched how perfectly our bodies work with plants and a lifestyle that made my health less of a burden to my family and aligned so beautifully with my faith and my medical training. If you are ready to reclaim your life with holistic options that are easy to implement as a busy mom and provide relief that lasts, this is the podcast for you. Hello, y'all. Welcome to the Becoming Natural podcast. This is Penny, your host, and I am happy to have you back this week. I still have a very long list of general food group discussions to discuss from episode 22 regarding best foods to eat when you're diagnosed with Crohn's or any sort of bowel or IBD type disease. However, my mom is my offstage manager without the title, and I'm going to change it up just a little bit this week and possibly next week. And I can't disagree with her point. But when I was asked to write a chapter in my anthology book, More Than Enough, which you can get by going to becomingnatural.com, I had to really cut down a lot of my story to stick to their word limit. While nowhere close to a complete book, I had a lot of my story written before I started struggling with some emotional ramifications from my health mess. I used what I had written and I started whittling away and breezing over some really incredible pieces of my story, like the specific miracles that we witnessed, things I referred to as the God moments in my blog. While I drop some stories here and there in this podcast, I've never really known how to truly share those stories in their entirety. Do I talk them out? Do I read what I have written? Or do I simply save them for a future book later on? So as moms do, and with only the way my mother can do, she told me last week, read those stories straight from your blog. My friends want to hear those stories, and they aren't in your book. So with a little finesse to hopefully keep it interesting, I am going to listen to my mother, and I'm going to start with a couple blog posts that led up to the massive swing of preparing for the worst and witnessing God's hand in ways we never could have dreamed. I now know why I blogged about those things, because having these posts to keep everything accurate and within a clear timeline has really helped me remember many pieces I never really wanted to remember. At that time, my blog was multi-use and was also used as what we might use today as a carrying bridge. My friends knew to check on me there. So today is storytelling, history, a lot of emotions, a lot of pain. So for those of you who like the warning, this is your warning. I can't fit them all into one podcast, but in order to appreciate the healing, we have to go digging into the depths of our despair leading up to my healing. And that's not cheating. It's not like you're reading the last chapter, really. I'm clearly still here with a podcast. So we all know that I survived, and in the end I won. And most would say miraculously. So let's do this. These are posts from my blog that I kept at the time, and this is Monday, December 22nd. When I go in hiatuses in my blog, it's typically because of my health. This time is no different. I am so grateful for every person in my life that has ever said a word to me, a word of encouragement, and I'm praying for you, giving me a hug. I am so blessed by so many people who play a part in my life. Alone is not an option for me. I have lots of togethers, and I am so grateful to have so many people to be together with. Around the beginning of September, I played a pretty tough tennis match in the Houston humidity. It was tough for me because it was Houston hot and I was getting weaker by the game. I looked at my friend and my partner and I wondered why I was tanking and she wasn't. And as it turns out, I never recovered from that match. And within the next week, I found myself hospitalized with pneumonia. No wonder I couldn't breathe on the court. After lots of tests, it was determined that I had pneumonia simply because I was on my immune-suppressing medication for Crohn's disease. After I left the hospital, I still didn't have any answers or even a plan and met with many specialists. I went to an ear, nose, and throat that determined, unbeknownst to me, that I had a severe sinus infection. What I loved most about this ear, nose, and throat doctor was that she was the only doctor who didn't just blame everything that I had on my Crohn's or the meds, as most doctors do, and simply write me off. She said the infection would continue causing pneumonia if I didn't nip it in the bud. I was so grateful, as she was the first doctor to keep pressing for a cause. Unfortunately, her solution was to give me an antibiotic called clindamycin. I was warned that it would be very hard on my stomach, and within a few days, I was vomiting profusely due to the antibiotics. However, I didn't want to go back in the hospital, so I forged ahead. It was brutal. Within a week after finally completing the antibiotic, I got C. diff. Side note, for those of you who don't know what C. diff is, it's a bacteria known for causing serious diarrheal infections, and it can also lead to colon cancer. So, off that side note. I was aware it was a risk, and I knew the exact moment my body changed. I called my GI office, and the nurse was not my normal nurse, who knew me very well. After she continued to give me the runaround and not take me seriously, I finally said, "I think I have C. diff." And she immediately changed her demeanor and ordered the tests and kind of turned into a panic. Sure enough, I was positive. Sidebar again, case in point to always advocate for yourself. That could have gone on forever. Ironically, for C. diff, you have to take yet another antibiotic, fourth at this point for me, to get rid of it. At that point, my body was so weak, I refused to take another antibiotic until I was about 5 days into C. diff, on a Saturday no less, with no doctor to call, and was grateful for that just-in-case script. My GI then referred me to an infectious disease doctor who actually extended the length of the antibiotic by 4 days. I never made it. I could not take the nausea anymore. My last pill was the week of Thanksgiving, so I had been nauseated and sick all of September, all of October, and for 3 weeks in November. I was done. Since the day I went to the hospital in September for pneumonia, we have been loved and supported and prayed for by an amazing amount of people, not only those who are family or known us for years, but this wonderful family of friends we have here in the Woodlands, away from our family. Our friends immediately jumped into action to help John at home with the kids and feed them in my absence. They visited me in the hospital. These are all things that I would do in a heartbeat for my friends. But to be on the receiving end of such love and compassion is a lot to take, especially when it seems like we have needed it for an extended period of time. When you're a mom and used to taking care of everyone else, it's extremely humbling to be taken care of yourself. The difficult part was that since I took that clindamycin, my stomach was only further destroyed. I am in chronic pain and vomit on a regular basis. I live in a world of nausea, even off the medication. It has been a very difficult time for me enduring it and my family worrying about me. Through it all, I've been balancing my business and my family and not doing a very good job of either. Every time I get sick, I feel like I couldn't get worse. And every time I get worse. The pain in the last few months has been unbearable with the nausea mixed in. I carry a barf bag with me everywhere I go. It's really classy. Whatever I have, be it Crohn's disease, candida issues, or C. diff, it is a very painful and brutal disease. There are no words to explain it so that those who don't have it can understand what I'm going through. John has been my saving grace. With every ounce of my being, I do not know how I would have survived the struggle in my life without him. Each time I turn around, he has not only made me the proper food to eat to keep me healthy, but he has made me delicious food to keep me healthy. I have told him many times that there is no way he can go before me. He has pulled me out of pits day after day, pits that I didn't have the energy to climb out of myself. We have prayed our hearts out over me, which has been so hard. I don't know how to pray for myself when I am in so much pain. I just say Jesus. I love that song that says, when you don't know what to say, just say Jesus. I say Jesus a whole lot. We finally reached the point where we admitted that we really needed more help. It was time. We called our church and made an appointment with our pastor to pray with us and for us last week. We had no idea what to expect, but I knew that we needed some next level superpowers involved. Our meeting was so much more than we thought it would be. Our pastor asked a lot of good questions about Babe. I call Babe, in my blog, I call John Babe, so I may interchange Babe with John. But our pastor asked us a lot of good questions about Babe and his role in my illness and how it affects us and our family. To say there were tears shed is an understatement. Babe and I are solid and united and ultimately so much closer for the trenches that we have been through. But that meeting was so purifying for each of us to cry out to someone else for help. He prayed over us, anointed us with oils, which that was a first for me, and we are set to meet with him weekly. Through all of this and the testing of my faith, I go back to Job a lot. I have never been angry with God, as our pastor asked me. I just want to be sure that through this awful time, that the glory be given to the Lord. I know that I am sustained daily from his strength alone. We both know that God is working through us, and there is nothing more emotional to me than to know that God is using me to do something for his kingdom. I still beg for healing, don't get me wrong. I often cry out, when is this over? But ultimately, I know that God is in control. I dream of a heavenly body, one with no pain and one with no suffering. John and I have discussed the what ifs, which are really hard. Babe fears losing me, and I fear my children growing up with a sick mom or worse, without a mom at all. But all these fears are not ours to bear. When I start to worry, my stomach hurts more, and it's ultimately a downward spiral for me. I can't go there emotionally for the physical pain that it ultimately causes. I don't mind giving those fears up to the Lord. I have to in order to function. What I do know is how my disease has changed my life. My perspective is one of necessity. Number one, good health. Every day is a blessing to be without pain. There are some days that I count hours as blessings without pain. Number two, food. Babe is all I have to say. He is the best cook and my daily supporter through cooking what's best for me, doing, praying, and loving. Number three, family. Every moment that I am down is time away from my boys, and I often feel a lot of guilt and anxiety over what my children are missing because of me. That part is really tough. But what I have seen a glimpse of is their appreciation for a healthy mom when I am healthy, and their compassion for me when I am ill. I get all sorts of head rubs, foot rubs, plates of mini wheats, and half-eaten pretzels, all things I can't eat, but they certainly make me feel better for the TLC and attention that I receive. Number four, friends. There is no way we could have survived to this point without our friends. Absolutely no way. After those four things, nothing else matters. It really simplifies life when you're just clinging to life. Sidebar here. I may have shared this story coming up before, but it's one of my favorites in this post, so because it's part of my blog post, I'm just going to be sharing it again. This morning I woke up sick. I was miserable, and strangely enough, I rejoice when I can throw up to get some of the pain to go away. I threw up, and it took the weight off my stomach. It is Sunday, and Babe had to work this morning, so I used every bit of energy I had to get the boys and I to church. I wanted so desperately to be at church, worshiping in the sanctuary. I walked into that sanctuary nauseous, unsure if I would have to run to the restroom to vomit. I prepared my oldest to watch the other two if I did. As we stood for our first song, I started to cry, and then I started to sob. My kids were staring at me, not knowing what to do and why Mommy was so upset. My oldest said, "Does it really hurt that bad, Mommy?" Which, of course, made me cry more. I told him I was crying because as soon as we started singing, I had no pain at all. The sermon was about how we fail to call on God to take over when we need it. Trust me, Lord, I am calling your name. And when we left, I called Babe to tell him that the entire time that I was in that sanctuary, I was without pain. I had a spiritual experience that I have never had before. But in that sanctuary, I felt like I was standing in the presence of God. The Holy Spirit was there. I was so emotional and so relieved to be without pain at the same time. As we walked out and I got in my car, my pain returned. I wanted to stay there all day long. I've been fighting this battle for half my life. There are lots of things I hate about it. I hate that people worry about me. I hate that people feel the need to ask me how my health is all the time. I hate the pain it causes me and my family. I hate not being able to eat at social functions or not being able to eat at all. I hate missing out on days at a time when I can't function. I hate it. Illness is from the devil, and it's his way of trying to take me down. But I am stubborn, and I refuse to be taken down. I fight for my kids, and I fight for my family. I fight because I know that God has bigger plans through my disease. I know. I don't know what they are. I don't know when or how this story ends, but I know that somehow God is working his purpose through me and through Babe and how we grow through this together. I am so grateful for all those togethers that I have. God is so good. I have never been weaker, but know that I have never been stronger. This is now moving on to April. My post says, I have gotten progressively worse since I had the pneumonia in the fall and have finally been referred to a new GI doctor in Houston. I am still piecing these together, I heard, while I was coming out of sedation from an endoscopy and what my mom, who was with me, has told me. There were some bittersweet pieces of information we gained yesterday, but first and foremost, several praises. Number one, the anesthesiologist made a great catch when he commented on my sitting up on my elbows, asking if I had back pain. I told him I didn't, but it hurt to lay down because I felt like I would throw up. They immediately changed their plan. Everybody ran around the room, and they decided to intubate me for the procedure, which is not the norm, and ultimately saved a lot of grief because I did actually throw up while I was sedated, apparently, and my lungs were definitely protected from aspiration by being intubated. You don't want that throw up to go into your lungs. That just causes infection. Number two, once we started this 30-minute test, they actually spent 3 hours cleaning the food out of my stomach. They removed 1.2 liters of food, more even when they extubated me, and I hadn't eaten in more than a day. Number 3, the issue they think is an emptying issue that is secondary to my surgeries from 15 years ago when they added a second exit hole to my stomach. It is possible that after stomach surgery, even numbers of years later, that the stomach will just stop pushing food through. In my previous surgeries, they cut my vagus nerve intentionally because it's responsible for secreting acid, but it is also responsible for peristalsis, or pushing food through the stomach. John and I are both so humbled, grateful, and overwhelmed with the love our friends have shown us. We are tired. We are very tired of fighting for health and for normalcy for our family. We know that it seems endless, and we feel like we are wearing our precious friends out with our prayers and our struggles. It takes having absolutely nothing left in our human strength to know the power of our God, to know the power of prayer, and to know the incredible God-given beauty of true friendships, the kind of friends who love you through the difficult times, and amazingly, they just keep loving you when the struggles don't stop. To be prayed for and to feel that prayer, to feel the Holy Spirit take over your body, that is a feeling I wish everyone could experience, and a feeling I cannot possibly put into words. It has been a struggle for me, but I have not experienced any pain as great as the power of fullness, joy, and peace. I truly can't describe the words what I feel when I know that prayers are coming to me in a specific moment. I can feel them. We have learned and grown so much through this nightmare in our marriage and in our faith. God is good all the time. He turns lemons into lemonade. John, whom many of you know worries at an OCD level of worry, was in tears yesterday on our way to the hospital for my test. He said, "I don't want people to have to help us. I just want to be able to help other people the way everyone is helping us." The next post is the next week. After last week's scope, I had to go back in yesterday for another since they didn't see much of my stomach for all the food that was still there. Today, I had John with me. I was working harder to keep him sane than he was me. As I told the nurse after his 20th question in 5 minutes, this is why I brought my mom last week. He had his notebook and his pen, and he did a wonderful job of taking notes so he could go back and tell my family everything that was said. He did a great job. Number 1, the ulcers they found in my stomach are ugly and deep. They believe them to be perforated. That isn't news to me. I feel it every moment of every day. Number 2, because of my original surgery, I have 2 exits in my stomach. Both are ulcerated and both are obstructed by inflammation. Surgery is imminent. Spiritual matters, there's no way to separate my faith from my experiences here. As you know, we have been moved to tears, joy, peace, laughter, and more tears over my failing body. It has certainly been an emotional roller coaster for both of us over the years. I have been to 5 GI doctors in my years of illness, and there has been one consistent message we have received from every single one. My first doctor in Tulsa called me an NCS. The name he personally gives to his patients are non-complaining souls. The doctor at Mayo Clinic told me if I was on the Oregon Trail, he would put his money on me making it to Oregon. When I didn't understand, he said that most people in my condition are in wheelchairs. Today, my doctor looked at John and told him in his Turkish accent, "She is strong woman. Most of my patients that look like her are completely debilitated. She has strong will." As though my husband didn't already know I had a strong will. I say this not to give myself kudos at all, because I don't feel strong. In fact, I feel pretty broken most days. I say this to tell you and all the friends of friends and perfect strangers from all the prayer lists in my hometown and here that you have put me on, that those prayers are completely sustaining me. I am not tough. I am not strong. Sure, there are days that are harder than others, but I get to be a mom to 3 hooligans, and I get to, amazingly, play tennis twice a week. I run my own business. I get to live a pretty amazing life, free of a wheelchair and not from my bed. There is no way I have the power and the strength to do that on my own. There is absolutely no way I could will myself to be okay despite my internal health. The only possible answer is that your prayers are being heard, and please don't stop. We are so grateful. I am so grateful for this life that I have. My surgery is going to be really complicated. It's not going to be easy for any of us. I am officially scared, but I know without a doubt that I am fully covered in prayer thanks to you, and I could not ask for anything more. As I left the doctor at UT, he said, "This is complicated. You are complicated, but don't you worry because we do complicated here. We can fix complicated. It's just going to take time." Praise the Lord. 2 Corinthians 12, 9-10 is what I wrote at the end of this blog, and Ironically, it has become kind of my spiritual battle cry. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. This is Saturday, April 25th, my final post before my first surgery. I will be having surgery next Monday, May 4th. I'm currently on liquids only, so the sooner the better. My past surgeries rerouted my stomach and gave me a second exit in my stomach. That exit, of course, doesn't have a flap, so the acids in my intestines reflux back up into my stomach and have grossly eroded my stomach. When I say ulcers, the pictures aren't pretty. Ulcers upon ulcers upon ulcers have merged together and perforated in multiple locations. The reasons I have had to have multiple blood transfusions and too many iron infusions to count. Why I can't eat, the reasons for so much pain, nausea, vomiting. So when I tell you that they are going to remove a portion of my stomach, that is music to my ears. I say, take it. Take whatever you want. They are going to remove all the ulcerated and diseased areas, repair what they can, and reconnect me. These doctors are so confident that I will be a new person on the other side of the surgery, so I will try to share their confidence and their excitement. My new GI at UT said the surgeon he recommended is the only surgeon in Houston he would let touch my stomach. The only doctor I let touch my sister, if I had sister. I will be in Methodist Hospital for about a week and home to recover for 6 weeks. We are so grateful for our Army. I cannot wait for a few months down the line to report to you how wonderful I feel. Thank you for your continued prayers. I get messages all the time from friends of friends and strangers that are praying for me. People get my name off prayer lists. That makes me cry all the time. Tears of joy. People who take time, strangers who take time to pray for me and for my family. It's a lot to put my overly emotional head around. We are so completely humbled by all of it. There's nothing more overwhelming and appreciated all at the same time. Please keep my boys in your prayers. They know they want me to feel better, but they are already nervous about me leaving for a week to go to the hospital. Oh, how that makes me so sad. God, please cover and protect my family in my absence. So May 4th happened with that original surgery at Methodist in Houston, and I found this post from June, unaware yet that at the time I was septic and our lives were about to be turned upside down beyond what we could even imagine. But I clearly knew something wasn't right. June 10th, Wednesday. I'm on the mend. Wow, having had 2 abdominal surgeries before this one when I was single, I was prepared for brutal, but I was not prepared for this. Having a husband and 3 precious hooligans is a game changer. The emotional side of the surgery really affected me. I woke up, if you can call it that, to discover they had removed 80% of my stomach. That was a blow. Then for several days, I was in and out of awareness for all the morphine I had on board. I ended up having a drug interaction with an antibiotic and a wound care issue that delayed my release from the hospital by another week. 2 weeks was far too long to be away from my kids, and it was far too long for them to worry about me. When I got home, I could see the worry in their faces. I was never happier to sit in the midst of my crazy and my chaotic house than I was when I got home from the hospital. I missed my boys, and they missed me. I kept finding notes in my drawers from them telling me what was going on and how they couldn't wait for me to get home. I boo-hooed every time I found one of those precious notes. It still took a good week for me to be able to spend much time out of bed. I'm just over 5 weeks now out of surgery. With my previous surgeries, I was back at work at 6 weeks. There's no way I would be capable of that this time. I still have home health coming twice a day to pack and treat my wound. I still move slow. I still get tired easily. If another person tells me it's because I'm 40, I might hit them. I do have scar tissue to deal with. I do have the drug interactions that set me back. I had a bladder infection that slowed me down for a few days. But I'll have my fight back. I have the will to be strong again. My determination is just a little bit stronger than my body. Slow and steady, they say. Slow and steady. Sidebar. Here, I had 2 to 3 follow-up appointments in that time with my surgeon who said I was doing just fine. In hindsight, outside of non-existent nutritional support from losing most of my stomach, he accidentally left a staple in my stomach. He did not return calls from my home health nurse who was concerned with infection in my wound, and he was just generally awful. So fast forward from that June post to this one in August, Thursday, August 13th. This is where we start with God moments. Climbing back on the horse. I don't even know where to begin with this post. Words can't really describe all the emotions that have occurred since June 15th. My incision wasn't healing from my surgery, so my home health nurse sent me to a wound care specialist in Tomball for a wound vac since my original surgeon was not responding to her calls. When the wound care specialist saw my incision and the drainage inside of it, she told me to go home, pack a bag, and be back in 2 hours. She admitted me to the hospital for a surgery and infectious disease consult. I am not sure at what point I understood the gravity of my situation, but it certainly was not then. After 2 days in the hospital with multiple tests, the doctors were in awe that I was upright, that I walked in alone on 2 feet. I was severely septic. Infection covered my entire body. And so began 5 weeks in the hospital and 4 surgeries to remove infection and repair the damage from my first surgery in Houston. My hospital stay was long, with some pretty dark and painful days. I was highly emotional, as you can imagine, being away from my boys again when I thought just 2 weeks was brutal. My mom told me multiple times that she prayed for me to forget my time in the hospital, and I think her prayers were heard. There is a lot I don't remember, and probably some I have blocked out. Much of it is too raw, and frankly, I don't want to rehash it. What I do want to remember and share are the God moments. The moments when the only answer was that God had me in his hands, the amazing signs that we saw, the unbelievably enormous group of prayer warriors I had praying for me. I still tear up when someone tells me they were praying for me. Being as sick as I was and so desperate to be well, prayer was and still is the best gift I could receive. Prayer was my only hope. To hear that someone took the time to pray for my healing is overwhelming to me. Friends, family, and strangers have told us their church, their Bible studies, their friends, everyone they knew, they were praying for me. I believe in prayer, and I know that I am where I am because of the power of so many people that were praying for me. I have been home now for almost 4 weeks. By all reports, I'm healing very well this time. My incision is almost closed, save one pinhole at the top, still praying that is a non-event. I am getting stronger, my appetite is growing, and I have gained 5 pounds after losing almost 40 pounds. I still have a way to go, but my strength comes from my Father in heaven, and no medication tops being at home with my family. As I am able, I will share the good moments, the God moments, the moments where all the glory should be to God for saving me, providing skilled hands to work on me, healing me, and enabling me to return to a healthy and fit mom and wife. This is where my eyes are. Good health is an incredible gift, and it's free. If you have it, please never take it for granted. Now I must work for it, and I will not stop until I get it. So now you have the setup for my personal blog for the actual beginning of the end of a progressing 25-year history of debilitating Crohn's disease. The next piece is where my mom said last week, read the posts from the blog, Penny. So I said, yes, ma'am. My story, as I call it, is not my story alone. Everyone who loved us, even if they didn't know me and they loved my parents or my family members, they lived this with us, praying fervently for each of us. While I was the patient, everyone was hurting. And God bless my family for the hours upon hours they sat, they slept, and they stood by my bed. I was never left alone. My family, my best friends, my family's friends, we all endured so much over 25 years, and poor John and his family had no idea what they were stepping into when he married me. At that time, none of us did. But most of all, as my hometown minister told me, which set me on a path of a book, a website, and now this podcast. My story is not my own because God gave me this testimony to share. The testimony that I prayed to have to show those who prayed for me for 25 years that their prayers were answered. Not overnight, not in a week, but 25 years of persistent prayers and belief. And I beat every odd that was placed on me. That's how God works. So take me to Vegas, baby. My story is for those who don't know me then. My story is for those who didn't know me then or may never know me in person, to encourage anyone with Crohn's, anyone who struggles with their health, anyone who struggles, period. Lean into your faith. When things get hard, don't run away from God. Run toward Him. God answers prayers. They just may not be in the way in which you imagined. God is faithful. God is so much bigger than prognosis. He is bigger than the odds. He is bigger than the whole body infection. He is bigger than defeat, and He is so much bigger than chronic illness. I would be rich if I had a penny for all the doctors, nurses, med students, residents, techs, everyone who saw me and asked the difficult questions of me, wondering how in the world I was surviving. and humbly how I looked so healthy on the outside while my insides were a mess of scarred, deteriorating, inflamed, bleeding, shocking illness. I honestly loved those moments. While my story didn't have an ending yet, I also knew that I had prayed from the depths of my soul for a testimony. I had no idea it would be this painful or the wake of pain that it would bring for my loved ones. No longer do I question in my spiritual life what my purpose is. No longer do my hands get sweaty and weak when someone begins to ask me about my testimony. I just ask them, where should I begin? So this is my first post once I was out of the hospital in August in Tomball, where the amazing Dr. Harkins fought so hard for my life and the nurses cared for me like none I have ever had before. Many people scoff at a smaller regional hospital in Tomball, Texas, over the big bad medical complex in Houston, but I am here to say that the humanity of care in the smaller hospital far exceeds the concern I received in the best hospital complex in the nation that operates on bottom lines and profits. In Tomball, I was Penny, and the doctors pulled up a chair and gave my family all the time they needed to ask questions and understand everything that was going on. I know without a doubt, albeit a roundabout way, God got me to Tomball for a reason. As requested by my mom, I will do this a little different and read these blog posts to you. I hope it doesn't get drab for you. For us, it's the reason I am still here, being a mom to 3 sassy teenage boys, wife to an amazing husband and daughter, sister-in-law to family that gave endless hours of their lives to carry us through ours, and surrounded by some of the most generous and special, lifelong treasured friends. God moments, the big decision. So much of my hospital stay is a blur, but there are distinct points that I remember that were very clear to me that God was in control. The wound care doctor was at Tomball Regional Medical Center. My original surgery was in Houston. I had returned twice to my original surgeon, expressing concern over my wound, and he was nothing short of apathetic. No plan and no concern was expressed. The wound care doctor in Tomball took one look at me and admitted me to the hospital within 2 hours to grab a bag. After I was admitted to Tomball by the wound care doctor, I was coincidentally discussing the plan with the Tomball surgeon at the exact same time Babe was talking to the original surgeon in Houston. In the 2 hours I was allowed to grab a bag, my mind was racing as to what we were supposed to do. This was a huge decision. Do we return to the original apathetic surgeon in Houston? That's a long drive for my family. He got me where I am, which is septic. His communication is terrible. He released me from the hospital with temperature spikes and a high white blood cell count with no concern. But Houston is Houston. It's the mecca for healthcare. Or do we stay in Tomball? The surgeon was incredibly thorough, had a plan, excellent communicator, and you better believe that I asked every nurse, aide, and tech what they thought about him, and not one person said anything but praiseworthy things about the surgeon. One doctor even said he's the trifecta. He's wise, he's skilled, and he has a good bedside manner to boot. My kids and family are close, but this is Tomball, Texas. Population small. I called Babe immediately, who was frantically getting life pulled together at home. He told the Houston surgeon that I was covered up in infection and my wound was popping open, and those are nice terms. He said the Houston doctor said, well, I guess you should just transfer her down here. And that was it. I told Babe that I had prayed so hard in those 2 hours and I had an overwhelming peace about staying in Tomball after talking to my doctors. But I wanted it to be a decision we made together. I needed confirmation of my peace. Babe was in total agreement. Our decision to stay in Tomball was confirmed over and over again. Praise the Lord for that overwhelming peace I had about staying there. My surgeon was exactly what I had been told. He was the trifecta. He had a nurse practitioner that worked very closely with him in surgeries and patient care. Their time with us was never rushed. Between me and my family members, we had hundreds of questions and they just took a seat. Their confidence and communication was exceptional. We had to talk through a lot of surgeries and choices and potential issues. Their time was ours. We felt the same about my assigned infectious disease doctor as well as the gastroenterologist that was assigned to me at this hospital. I had many different nurses on 3 different floors because I had a new room after every surgery, and every single one of them was amazing. Not only were they compassionate, but skilled. 2 nurses that I remember specifically caught some potentially life-threatening issues beyond my already life-threatening state. One that sent me to surgery for the 4th time, just as they were considering releasing me. Praise God, she caught a leak I had through one of the drains that exited out my lower abdomen. I had so many antibiotics going that I had 2 IV pulls to hold them all. I was a difficult patient simply for all the meds that I needed every shift. For the most part, I had a nurse in my room all the time for all the work they had to do for me. I can count at least 5 nurses that either prayed with me or told me that they were praying for me at home. And this wasn't even a Christian hospital. They were just amazing people. Even the anesthesiologists were wonderful. Having gone to surgery a total of 4 times thus far at Tomball Regional, I became a regular in the operating room. By the second surgery, they all greeted me and waited on me hand and foot. I don't think I was an exception, but they knew me by name. Probably not the norm for anesthesiologists. For my last surgery, that was simply a closing of my incision because we left it open with a wound vac the entire time I was in the hospital, and the pulling out of a drain. They all high-fived me that I was on my way to healing. Of course, it wasn't until the last surgery that they each expressed how sick I was, how far I had come, and how great I looked compared to the gray Penny that they saw when I came in with infection. I have one more surgery to go after I leave the hospital to remove my temporary ostomy, and I know they will take as great a care of me then as they did now. After a short 48-hour stint at the neighboring hospital that insurance forced upon us, I was grateful to return to Tomball Regional. Our experience at that interim hospital was not good, and we are all in agreement that I would either be more seriously sick or truly dead had we stayed there. We don't want to rehash that time. On a personal note, I never blogged about that stay as it was truly that awful, but since I am bearing it all, I will try to get that done. When we returned to Tomball Regional, I was readmitted by the nurse when she needed to call my surgeon for orders. She returned to my new room and said, "Dr. Harkins wants to move you to another room just around the corner." My thought was that it was a higher level of care for telemetry. The cardiac care I required after one of my surgeries caused some concern requiring me to be wired up. Or he just wanted me to be closer to the nurse's station, something pertaining to the increased level of care I needed. We do this where I work too. When they rolled me into my new room, our jaws dropped. I liked to refer to it as the George and Laura suite. We had a living room and a kitchen in addition to extra square footage and the regular hospital room. My surgeon came to visit shortly after, and he said that I deserved it for what I was going through, and this was the way that my kids could come up and comfortably spend time with me. It had a huge TV and a PlayStation. Who does that for a patient? The extra mile was amazing. What he failed to mention was that not only was it by his request, it was on his personal dime. I was in tears. Of course, ask anyone. I was in tears every single day. While I'm not a fan of 2-part podcasts, this is getting long, and this one will have to go into next week. That's a good thing, because there's so much goodness to come and so much goodness to share, riddled with the hard stuff. So many miracles, tears, emotions, amazing doctors, hospital employees, friends, and perfect strangers. After surgery number 1, there was a lot of fear and uncertainty, as I recall. It still didn't occur to me that things were life-threatening. I remember the infectious disease doctor explaining that I could be on antibiotics for the rest of my life. I didn't like that at all. What I thought about constantly was getting back home and with my boys, and how long is all of this going to take? I had no idea what was before me.
If you're interested in checking out our anthology devotional, look for the link on my website, becomingnatural.com. More Than Enough, The Silent Struggle of a Woman's Identity. It was awarded the Barnes & Noble bestseller designation in just 5 days of pre-launch. It ranked number 1 in the religion category, number 38 bestseller out of all pre-orders at Barnes & Noble. Each author received a Barnes & Noble best-selling author designation. You don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you've enjoyed today's episode, hit that follow button, leave a 5-star review if you're so willing, and help spread the message of Becoming Natural by sharing it with a friend. Check out the resources in the show notes and join the email list to stay on top of all the latest and greatest happenings at Becoming Natural as we roll out exciting new things while we grow. Until next time, take those baby steps to a more natural life and always give yourself grace. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. See you next week.